I do wish it was that easy, but thank God it's not, because otherwise we'd all be that way.
You know, if you can get past those barriers, you just touched on it yourself. I'm just paraphrasing what you just said, and you just hit the most important concept there. Is like, I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I think that there's more danger in overcomplicating things. I really think there's a lot more danger that people fail to take action because they think, you know, it must be something hyper complex that I have to spend years to get good at. No, you really don't. You know, it's like about 1 year of focused effort, you should be doing extremely well, really. About 1 year of focused effort, you do extremely well. You'd be you'd have to go find a new peer group because you'd be doing way better than anybody that you currently know. Mm-hmm. So you'd have different type of problems now, you know. So don't overcomplicate it. And when I talk to him about finance, it's the same type of thing. It's like, you know, on one hand, it's extremely complex. You know, you think about finance, all the things that you need. You know, you have to have a base understanding of math to begin with, and you better learn about statistics, because if you don't know statistics, then you don't understand the probability of anything happening or not. So you can't quantify a probability if you don't understand statistics. So you got to understand statistics, and you know, you don't need calculus, but calculus helps sometimes to understand, you know, rate of change or velocity of things that are happening, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And you know, then there's, you know, you're going to have to learn about efficient markets hypothesis so you can make fun of it later when you realize that all the money that you're going to make is contrary to efficient markets hypothesis. And you know, then you're going to learn about Black-Scholes model and your pricing, so you can learn that Black-Scholes model is also mostly a joke, and that there's misquantifies risk grossly. It talks about historic risk in a way that can't possibly mimic the reality of what's going to happen in the future, because there are different events during different times and so on and so on. So et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to have to learn all these little models and whatnot, and half of them, then the money that you'll make are going to be doing things that are contrary to the academic models. Mm-hmm. You know, but you'd have to get back to, you know, to really, in my opinion, to be good at investing, you know, first you have to know how all the pieces fit together. You do need to understand that, the general understanding of, you know, how does the market function? How does an exchange function? What is, you know, basic things, you know, market cap and price earnings ratios, and, you know, basic things, earnings per share. And then, you know, start thinking about, you know, balance sheet, reading financial statements of, you know, what is a balance sheet? What is the income statement? Statement of cash flows, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Be able to read the financial statements. If you can't read the financial statements, you're in trouble. So there's a lot of things you need to know about, but after you know those things, which only takes a few years really to really internalize all that stuff, you can learn a lot in a very short period of time. You know, I mean, a lot of guys could take this fucking 10-week program with me and make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, literally. So, you know, it's just, at the end, you need to understand some basic math. You need to understand how the markets function pretty well. You've been through this course, haven't you, or are you doing it right now?
I did Moneyberg mentoring, and I'm doing the mastery in, I think it's July.
No, it's the same type of things that we covered in the cognitive biases that we covered in there. So you take those finance models, and you take the things you learned in there about managerial decision making, and, you know, how not to do stupid human shit, and pretty soon there's a lot of money. You know, pretty soon there's a lot of money. And if you can make 100 grand, the dumbest among us could go find 100 grand for fuck's sake. You know, in not that long of a period of time. If you can make 100 grand, you can figure out how to triple that and triple it again and triple it again, and pretty soon you're retired. Pretty soon you wouldn't have time to work for money because you're making too much money from your investments. And you're a really young guy yet. You got a lot of time to do that. You have that runway of a lot of time to, you get 2 or 3 more recessions than I got left in me, you know. So don't overcomplicate it. And in a business sense, does that seem, after having that experience, like, does that seem far-fetched or crazy in a business sense, the things that we're talking about? Or a lot of those, the most valuable things in your life are going to be those psychology components. understanding basic math and discerning probabilities and, basic ability to read financial statements and in a way that you're confident that you know what they mean, And the biggest money after you understand those fundamentals of finance or accounting or economics, the biggest money is going to be the psychology things. It's going to be, the entrepreneurial thinking, that being able to have two dichotomous thoughts in your head at the same time and be smart enough to understand, well, in one context we apply concept A, in a different context we apply concept B. And people don't like that. They don't want to have those two dichotomous thoughts and have to think, which one do we apply in which situation? They just wish that you could tell them a fucking some mystical, magical, a one-line incantation that will lead to undue success overnight.
Yeah, that's probably, you're spot on with that as well, of course. It's probably a lot of where it was coming from, too. I do wish it was that easy, but thank God it's not, because otherwise we'd all be that way.
If you can get past those barriers, you just touched on it yourself. I'm just paraphrasing what you just said, and you just hit the most important concept there. Is like, I'm not mad. First of all, it's just reality. You're going to deal with struggle after struggle, and later you're going to die, okay? That's just reality. You could be mad at reality, but you're going to have a lot worse outcomes than if you're generally accepting of reality. But beyond that, it's really a great advantage to someone like myself or a young man like yourself. It's a tremendous advantage that you can make durable competitive advantages, durable distinctions between yourself and the others by not only a willingness but proactively seeking those difficult situations early in life and paying your dues and those life lessons early on. You're going to have a calmness and a confidence about you for the rest of your life that other people just don't have. They never earned it. And they'll blame everybody else, and they'll blame you, and they'll tell you that you got lucky. You did things they never would have done, but they'll just tell you got lucky. You did things they could never comprehend even doing, but you just got lucky. So they'll belittle your accomplishments. They'll talk shit about you. But they'll do nothing, And you know what you'll think about that? You won't think about them at all because you won't have time because you got better shit to do. And some idiot on the internet said, what do you think about your critic that said blah, blah, blah? I don't think about them at all.
They're banned, right?
I'm doing this. So, that's just it. It's really your biggest gift is, if you have the psychological, wherewithal that you do, somebody that's your age thinking the way that you are, or a lot of you younger guys here, it's like, just be willing to suck it up and do tough things that your generation is not doing. Your generation, they're doing everything they can to avoid doing anything difficult. They think any little bit of inconvenience in their life that would be perfectly normal and natural for every generation that came before them, today that's called oppression somehow. You're born in the land of the greatest opportunities that ever existed in human history, and they want to tell you that you're oppressed for some reason, It's unimaginably dumb, but here you are. So, in the long term, you got to be concerned about the solvency of that culture. Can that culture exist, for the duration of your lifetime or the duration of your lifetime plus, your offspring that you might care about. The ones you don't care about, don't worry about. But in the short term, you have the tremendous ability to draw distinctions between who you are versus the others. And women won't remain insane. By 25, they start getting pretty sane and thinking like, do I want one of these fucking clown dick grievance boys? Or would I like to have a man who's, accomplished this and this and this and this, and he's calm and he's grounded, he knows who he is, he knows what he wants, he won't put up with any of my bullshit. I know if I don't treat him right, he can't make time for me. His time is too valuable, I gotta do something else instead. And you're gonna have a lot of opportunity, more than you can imagine right now. And that might sound more than you imagine, more than you could currently imagine. You can make more money than you currently think you can. You have a lot more sexual opportunity than you currently even think you can. And it's going to be, in some ways, it's going to be easier for your generation to stand out from the others, because there's a lot of people that don't want to do shit.
Yeah.
They think that like smoking weed and playing a video game is like a perfectly good lifestyle choice, like a perfectly reasonable thing to do, and somebody else should pay for their. So the people that are eager to stand out and eager to your success in life will be directly proportional to the size of the obstacles you're able to overcome. That's a paraphrase from Brian Tracy. I'll give him credit for it.
Yeah.
But your success in life will be directly proportional to the size of the obstacles you're able to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about that, then there should be an exuberance, an excitement, where you wake up and say, "Oh, time for more winning."
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Time
it would
for
be
more
horrible
winning.
if it was any other way, because then it is someone else's choice, and then your life is just hell at the mercy of some tyrant.
True. Fact.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, thank you, because, what I was hoping was you'd be like, well, step one, I say hi, and then step two, or something along those lines. And then, I think it ties back to the self-esteem talk we were having earlier, where, part of self-esteem is the knowingness that you're capable for life. What Nathaniel Brandon says in the book that you prescribed to us. And that was another big part of it for me. So that's probably the biggest thing I'll take from that is you can't be looking for those answers, right? Like, you're teaching the fundamentals because you're teaching us how to think properly. And
Which is banned from school today.
Right, yeah. So that's exactly true, because now I'm going to go out tonight and be like, I'm not looking for XYZ. I'm just like, I'm capable of solving problems. It's just going to come up tonight. I'll be okay.
If you don't have new problems coming up, you're not trying hard enough. Your success in life will be directly proportional to the size of the obstacles you're able to overcome. Now, that don't mean go look for random problems that you could avoid. Go find, strategically pick your problems, Strategically pick those obstacles that, you'll be well rewarded for overcoming certain obstacles. And you'll waste your life just overcoming random obstacles. So, one must be wise enough or focused enough to set a goal and have a strategy to attain that goal that minimizes energy and time wasted on, unnecessary troubles, and maximizes the amount of, time and focus spent on overcoming problems and obstacles that'll pay you a high reward. So, you have to be smart enough to pick those things. And guess what? At your age, you don't know what the fuck you want to do in 20 years.
Yeah.
And anybody else that says they do is either lying or dumb. Because I don't know what I want to do in 20 years. I'm fucking old. And I don't know what I want to do 20 years from now. But I do know that whatever the fuck I want to do in 20 years, I'll be better prepared to do it. If I have better socials, had a better social circle, if I had high quality, smart people around me, is that gonna make my life better or worse? If I continue to educate myself and learn new things every day, learn more about history, learn more about science, learn more about anything pragmatic that might create a better outcome, is my life going to be better or worse? If I created better financial resources, is my life going to be better or worse? So I don't know what the fuck I want to do 10, 20, 30 years, but I know no matter what I want to do in the future, I'm going to be more capable of doing it if I spend my present focused on more financial resources, more high quality social resources, more high quality intellectual resources, and pretty much take care of your health, I guess. I got to add that in there. Anything else would be wasted time. I would argue to you that the key to everything else that you want in life is a function of your intellectual resources and social resources. Let me say it this way. If you had a high-level functioning brain, whatever quality of brain you got, if you spent your time filling it with quality information, pragmatically useful information, and then you associated with other people that were in the habit of doing the same thing, would you have a hard time finding a few dollars somewhere?
No.
Would you have a hard time finding a date?
No.
So I would say even more important than the accumulation of wealth, I'd say that the wealth is a natural byproduct of the accumulation of knowledge and pragmatic knowledge, and hanging out with a peer group of people that also has that appreciation of pragmatic knowledge. And the natural thing a few nerds like that do together is talk about the general structures of winning. It's like, oh, I think there's some winning to be had over here. And your buddy's like, well, I was doing some winning this way, and if we combine that, your suggested way of winning with the winning I've already been achieving, there could be even more winning, synergistic winning. Then you have another tidbit to offer, and then you go win some more. And if you hang out with a bunch of losers, you don't have any of that. You just got a bunch of bums moping around blaming somebody else for, they're sad that they didn't get the outcomes that they didn't earn. So, if you did that, you're gonna, there's gonna be a pretty girl somewhere that's gonna be happy to be a part of that. There's gonna be, you're gonna go find some money, So now, I guess one caveat is, again, we have to think about that pragmatism of like, if you want, we got to focus on learning things that are going to lead to real outcomes, Because there's a couple of groups out there. I remember being in philosophy class, if I took 2 extra classes, I would have had a second bachelor's degree in philosophy. And I remember sitting around with these people. Some of them are very high IQ people. They're smart. They'll read for 14 hours in a day. They'll forego hygiene to read for an extra half an hour, That's what the philosophy room smells like. If you, in the advanced philosophy classes in a university, you can smell that their dedication to reading has outweighed their dedication to good hygiene. So, unfortunately true. So, but then you sit around and, you think of, Hegel or Fichte or Schelling or somebody like that. You'd sit around in a classroom and you'd argue about, 1800s philosophy where, what is the meaning of the word I, for the meaning of being from the being's perspective of meaning, or some bullshit, Kierkegaardian, language not. And at some moment you gotta look around and be like, my professor's got a lot of wisdom and knowledge in his head, and the poor bastard makes 60 grand a year with his doctorate degree. And you got to look around at your classmates and you say, well, there's a lot of smart people here, but I don't think they're applying it in the most pragmatic way as possible. And then you better wander over to the business building and learn a little bit about finance and a little bit about accounting, so you can take some of those, structures of thought and apply them into a context that's going to be, provide you with a more comfortable lifestyle, or whatever sort of financial abundance you might like to have,
Much.
I want a lot. I grew up poor, I want a lot. There'll never be enough. There'll never be a number that was too big. This is a absurd, crazy thought, but it's a sincere thought that I've had recently that, I'm so excited about financial winning. I'm so excited about stacking the gains, compounding the gains, that I recently had to talk to myself about future health things from a perspective of like I don't want to focus on this or that. I just want to fucking I have such momentum doing certain things. I just want to do that. And I'm like, well, the cost-benefit analysis turns out that it'd be wise of you to have better dietary habits, etc. It's the last pussy thing in my life. Everything else I've been a good disciplinarian about, It'd be wise of me to do that, if for no other reason that I could live years longer and it would give me more time to compound the gains. And when I start talking to myself that way, then I'm like, all right, you can do it. So change your, don't eat for 2 hours before bed. Don't eat for 2 hours before bed. Start there. Then you can live longer and compound the gains.
A couple more years on the Coke stock.
Coke stock?
Yeah, to let it compound. Yeah.
You thinking about Warren, Charlie?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they love their Coca-Cola. It's an absurd thought, but it's a sincere thought that, humans are full of crazy thoughts, and you're never going to outgrow that. No matter how old you are, you're still going to have insane thoughts that you have to, just like we talked about there. You're going to have a lot of insane thoughts that you have to sort through and laugh at yourself. And then you think to yourself, you have this terrible awakening where you think to yourself that, all the effort that you made to be better educated and better positioned and do things that others weren't willing to do, and you still have these crazy thoughts in your head. And then you got to look at the others outside there and be like, holy fuck, that you recognize the hopelessness of many of those people, because they wouldn't change that habit early in life like you're doing right now. They wouldn't take the time to go explore those better paths early in life. And then they're my age and older and they still haven't done anything. And they're not going to start then. They're not going to start then. So, so when I say to you, you're currently unaware of just how much wealth that you could create, to the extent that you focus on that will in fact happen. It's much more than you think. It's so much that at some point you're a bit aloof about it, that it's like, oh yeah, that, So I got a nice car. Yeah, well, you're not thinking about your nice car. You're just like, I'm going to get in the car and go to the store and get the thing. So it's not something you're dwelling on or obsessing about. But spend the time now obsessing on some of those nuances and figuring out those best practices, and just implement them for your life, and you do great. Better than you think. Better than you think. Have you guys not, in some ways, have you not got better outcomes than you thought you would have? Yeah. I sure did. Some of the things would be unimaginable, Some of the differences would be, from like my childhood environment, and I did a lot better than some of my biggest dreams from, say, my teenage years, If as an 18-year-old or something, if somebody offered me a contract to do have 20% of the fun I did, or 20% of the money, or 20% of the winning in general, that would have seemed like a great deal to sign on that contract and accept about 20% of my current circumstances. It would have seemed like an unimaginable deal, Today I think to myself, well, you did this and this and this and that, and some of the stuff seems surreal. And I'm like, well, what else? If that's all true, then what else could you do? And it really has given me quite a extraordinary confidence about the future that my most negative emotions that I could ever experience in life are already behind me. I've already very much come to terms with mortality. I had that sorted out in my head when I was about your age. I understood I was going to die, and it was important to go do things. And I've been in very, what other people would say are tense, or I've been in near-death situations and been very calm several times, very at peace, and my brain's more logical or more calm, and well, how do we fix this? Oh, okay, and sometimes you can't fix it. There's one time I was on a plane and they can't get the landing gear down, and you circle for a couple hours until there's no more fuel, and then they tell you that they have to crash land the plane and prepare you for that. And I was very calm then. I remember being very annoyed. And that's something that's out of your control. There's nothing I can do about that one, When the gangster is holding a gun at your face, you can think about, you have some autonomy to make some decisions. When you're on the plane, are you going to do a better job than the pilot with the fucking plane? Well, no, so you're just there. I think things are going to go really great for me, and for somebody your age, you have bigger advantages than you think. I just say it one last time: bigger advantages than you think. People in your generation don't want to do shit.
Yeah.
And for the few that do, you're going to be a tremendous success. Tremendous success if you're willing to bust your ass for 10, 15 years and do whatever you want. Whatever you want. You just laugh at your friends, or laugh at your current friends or your peers. And by the way, your friends aren't coming with you guys. By the way, your current friends, yours. By the way, they're not coming with you. That's a whole other conversation that, every one of you has. No, but my one friend, he has so, in your head right now, every fucking one of you, you're like, no, but my one friend, he has so much potential. No, he doesn't. He's not going to do what you're going to do. No, he doesn't. So it might take you 3 more years, 10 more years to realize what a bum he is. So, no, Derek, you're wrong about this one. I'm a good, loyal friend, and he's going to do great. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. You're going to be the only one. So don't lie to yourself about that.
Some really important things that I've learned so far, looking at the financials of a company. In my past experience trading on the stock market, I used a lot of charting and technical analysis, and this approach to, looking at the financials, cash flow balances, income statements, SEC filings, stuff like that has really given me that edge. I'm learning a lot more information about the company than I ever would have before. This has given me the opportunity to make more clear and defined decisions when I go into a purchase. More specifically, specifically, I'm able to look at a stock and understand or realize whether or not that stock is undervalued, intrinsically undervalued, or is it overpriced in the market? You know, is there so much hype in the market that the stock itself is just way overpriced? And that helps me avoid these stocks, which is fantastic. This kind of key information has armed me with knowledge that gives me great confidence. And I'm reading through different filings, and I'm developing some great confidence in these skills. And I'm delving into markets and research types of information that I never have looked at before. So this has been a real eye opener. I love learning new things and adding new tools to my skill set, and the course has really provided a lot of that information, which is great because I'll be able to go back and review it anytime I want. One thing I wanted to say to any guys that are out there that are thinking about doing this course, hands down, invest in yourself, and if you don't, start putting the money away, because you know this course will change your life, and you'll go on to do bigger and greater things. I'm speaking to you from Hawaii right now, new Rolex on the wrist. That's all paid for with stock market, money. I've made a lot of money over this last year, and part of that reason is due to the information and stuff that I've learned while being on this course. So I'm really excited to be a part of this journey, and we're going to take it further. We're going to start looking at real estate, maybe in the next year or even later this year. So I'm really excited to be on this course. Thank you so much to the team. You guys have been so helpful. I really appreciate all the work that Travis does, and Derek, your talks once a week are fantastic, motivating, and keep us on the right path to learn more, to grow abundance, and to work with fantastic people. So I'm really excited to be a part of that team. Thank you again. I love you guys. Peace.
Thanks for watching. Success is not for everybody, and it may not be for you. If you are or on your way to be a millionaire or multi-millionaire, probably going to want to spend time with my clients. Probably going to want to have a personal relationship with me so we can accelerate that process, get you living up to your maximum potential, earning your maximum wage. You're going to want to click that follow button. You're going to want to click that bell and get notifications. Tune in every Friday. Tune in every Monday. You're going to love what you see. I look forward to having you as a client in the future.